So this guy gets a Lamborghini, a personal rock band, and a gold-plated speedboat from a lie so big it was worth billions. And this wasn't some cartel boss. This was Richard Scrushy, the superstar CEO of a Fortune 500 healthcare company. He starts out as a nobody, a kid from a trailer park in Alabama. But he gets it in his head that he's destined for more. He claws his way up, founds a company called HealthSouth, and turns it into an absolute giant in healthcare. And he lives like a king. I'm not talking just rich. I'm talking insane. He's building these massive estates, a compound really, with a guardhouse. He's got a collection of priceless art, a custom-built helicopter, a fleet of private jets, including a Boeing 727, and a 92-foot yacht named Chez Soiree. He's on the board of Gibson Guitars. He's flying Martha Stewart to his wedding in Jamaica. This guy isn't just a CEO, he's a rock star. He even has his own band, an 80s cover band called Proxy, and they play at all the company parties. He's the god of Birmingham, Alabama. Everyone either works for him or wants to be him, untouchable. But there's a problem. To keep the stock price climbing and Wall Street happy, HealthSouth has to hit its earnings targets every single quarter, without fail. For a normal company, that's a bad quarter. But for Richard Scrushy, that's not an option. So he creates a system, a secret group of his most trusted finance guys. They call themselves the Family. And every quarter, the Family meets. It's led by a string of CFOs, guys like Aaron Beam and Bill Owens. And in these meetings, the conversation is completely unreal. Scrushy's people look at the real disappointing earnings numbers. Then they look at what Wall Street expects them to earn, and they figure out the difference. They call it the gap. And then one of the CFOs just asks the question, how much do we need to invent today? And they just fix it. They invent money out of thin air. They tell their accountants to plug fake numbers right into the books. Just add a few million here, a few million there. They bury it deep in the accounting, inflating assets, making up reimbursements that don't exist. It starts small, but it snowballs. A little lie becomes a bigger lie. A $50 million lie becomes a $500 million lie. Soon they're cooking the books for billions, over $2.7 billion of pure fiction, and for years the party just keeps rolling as the stock soars. Then everything changes. The government passes a new law called the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, a direct response to other massive corporate frauds. It says CEOs now have to personally sign off on their company's financials. They have to swear that the numbers are real. If they lie, they can go to prison for a very long time. This freaks Scrushy out because he knows the numbers are a fantasy, and he starts getting paranoid. He puts insane pressure on his CFO, William Owens, to keep the fraud hidden. But Scrushy also sees the writing on the wall, and right before a bad earnings report is about to drop, he sells over $100 million of his own stock. It's a massive red flag, and the feds finally see it. The SEC starts sniffing around. Then the FBI gets involved, knowing something is deeply wrong at HealthSouth. They start looking at the numbers, and they look at Scrushy's giant stock sale. They know he knew something was coming. They just need someone on the inside to flip, so they go straight for the weak link. They go for CFO William Owens. The FBI corners him. They lay it all out. They tell him they know about the fraud, the family, and they know he's in deep. They give him two choices: go down with the ship and face 30 years in prison, or cooperate. Owens panics. He sees his whole world collapsing. His marriage, his career, his freedom, it's all gone. So he makes a decision. He flips. He agrees to help the FBI, and then they ask him to do the unthinkable, wear a wire. Suddenly the game is completely different. Owens goes back into HealthSouth, but now he's a ghost. He's an informant. He sits in meetings with his old friend and boss, Richard Scrushy, with a hidden microphone recording everything, and the tapes are absolutely damning. You can hear Scrushy coaching Owens on what to say, telling him how to lie to federal investigators. It's all there on tape. The conspiracy is no longer a secret, it's evidence. With this, the feds raid HealthSouth's headquarters, the Death Star. They seize computers, documents, everything, and then they come for the king. Richard Scrushy is arrested. He's indicted on 85 counts. The government has fake numbers, mountains of evidence, 5 cooperating CFOs, and most of all, the tapes. It looks like an open and shut case. It seems certain Richard Scrushy is going to prison for life. But then the story takes the most bizarre turn imaginable. The trial starts in his home turf of Birmingham, and Scrushy launches a full-blown public relations war. He knows the jury pool is made of local religious people, so what does he do? Richard Scrushy, the billionaire fraudster, becomes a televangelist. I'm not kidding. He and his wife Leslie start hosting a Christian TV talk show called Viewpoint. He's on TV every day talking about faith, forgiveness, and how he's being persecuted by the government. He joins a predominantly African-American church, gets their pastor on his side, and organizes citywide prayer movements. In the courtroom, his lawyers paint him as the ultimate victim, a good Christian man who was betrayed by his greedy underlings, the family. They say the CFOs like William Owens were the real masterminds. They call Owens a big rat who turned on his boss to save himself. And incredibly, it works. The jury deliberates for weeks. The prosecution is confident, but the jury sees something else. The jury sees a local hero, a man of God, being attacked by the federal government. And on June 28, 2005, the verdict comes in. Not guilty. On all 36 remaining charges, acquitted. He walks out of the courtroom a free man. The government is stunned. The nation is shocked. Scrushy beat a $2.7 billion fraud rap. But the story isn't over. The feds are furious. They lost, but they don't quit. They start digging into every single thing Scrushy has ever done. And they find something else, something totally separate from the HealthSouth fraud. A seat on a powerful state hospital board he wanted years earlier. A very powerful position. So, to get it, he paid the governor of Alabama, Don Siegelman, $500,000. It was a straight-up bribe. 4 months after he walks free from the fraud trial, the feds hit him again, this time for bribery. There's a new trial, and this time there's no escape. The evidence is clear. The bribe is undeniable. Richard Scrushy is found guilty of bribery, conspiracy, and mail fraud. The man who masterminded a multi-billion-dollar lie is finally brought down. The same man who beat 85 charges and convinced a jury he was a holy man is caught by a different crime entirely. In the end, Richard Scrushy is sentenced to nearly 7 years in federal prison. His entire fortune is wiped out by a court ordering him to repay $2.9 billion. The King of Birmingham is left with nothing. And there it is, the final image. Not the rock star CEO in a private jet, but a real-life mugshot. The face of a man who built an empire on a lie, beat the system, and then lost it all.